Crafty Babes, this is Andrea, and we're here to chat about all the ways we live our craftiest lives.
And I'm Alyssa, and we're here to inspire you to craft in a way that works for you.
Hi!
Hi, we're back.
We are back. We have a fun episode today.
Yeah.
I think.
I think it'll resonate, or it will, people will get it.
Yeah, I think it's something that maybe people haven't really thought about much, but we're going to talk about ideas for using pocket cards.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like we all have more than we need.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Physical ones, digital ones. See episode 14 for the digital discussion.
The digital lowdown.
That's right. So we're just going to quickly kind of give off some fun ideas for using up pocket cards if you feel like you've just are overwhelmed by your pocket cards and not really putting them into pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess first off would be you could use them, and I do this. I use them to write notes that I send to friends when I send a little care package, or when I send a giveaway, or when I send you a package.
Yes.
It's like instead of having a greeting card, you can just thumb through your cards and find one that says, "Hey girl, you're awesome," and then you write on the back of it.
Yep.
Yep, it's a good one.
Great way to do it.
On the same vein as writing notes when you're sending them to friends, you could use them for lunch notes for your kids or your hubby, or just yourself. Why not throw a little lunch note in your lunch bag so that when lunchtime comes, you're like, oh yeah, I am awesome. Seriously, little affirmations might be something fun that you could put in your own bag. But obviously, it's always nice to leave a little note for someone.
Yeah. And you know what? Just as you were talking, it made me think about not just lunches, but about putting up stuff. You stick it up with some washi tape. It's a way to use up some of your washi tape. And put a little note to yourself throughout the house. Like, put a note on the pantry that says you don't need chocolate to be happy. Or if you're trying to work on making better food choices. Or put up a scripture verse in the bathroom so you can look at it while you're brushing your teeth, or put one up in the laundry room that says you don't need to spend your life doing laundry here. Just some little...
Where can I find that card?
Yeah, just write it out, girl. Write it out.
Yeah, no, that was on my list because...
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, right
Cool.
here. Display them on your craft room wall in a collage, or stick them up with a strip of washi.
So I see that.
Yes. Yes, and what I like about your idea, too, is that you kind of are thinking along the lines of, like, affirmations and putting them in different places, which is something I didn't think about. I was just thinking about kind of decoration, and putting them up as far as, like, making a little collage or making, like, an inspiration board in your craft room. But I really like the idea of kind of throwing them around the house a little bit.
Yeah, spread the love.
I really, really dig it. One of the other things that I have really enjoyed doing lately is making a mini album out of the 3x4 cards.
Yeah.
And I've done this a couple of times, and it's been really super fun. So one of the projects I did was a summer mini album using the LA Studio cards. And I'll link to that project in the show notes. Or you can always go to LA Studio blog and, like, search for my name. But that was a really fun where I punched the holes at the top, and then so the album was like a flip up book instead of a flip to the side. And I alternated between, like, card and photo, and just used a card that represented the photo as best as I could, or used the same colors, did a little bit of journaling, a little bit of embellishing or stamping, and then added it to the ring. And
nice.
It turned out really cute. And then that way I got a lot of my summer photos taken care of, as far as got them documented. And I used up a ton of 3x4 cards.
Love it.
Yeah. And I did something similar. Kelly Bangs Creative came out with the, what was it called? My Organized Life.
Yes.
And it had all the flashcards, the A to Z flashcards.
Yes.
All around the house, kind of themed. And so I made a little mini book that had all the A to Z flashcards, and I am going to either use photos of my house or my life that represents that item, or just do some journaling. Like, for example, I did the clock, and I made a little note on the C card, or, you know, right up below the C card, that said, all the clocks in my house are always set 5 minutes fast so that I'm always on time.
Yeah.
You know, just little things like that. Doesn't have to be a picture, but it can be something about you, your family, your home that represents what that little icon was. And so that can be an ongoing thing and something that you can use cards for as like little mini albums.
Mini book type things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I don't do the 12 by 12 pockets anymore, so I don't have an opportunity to use up a ton of my cards all at once. And so I like to use my 3x4 cards on smaller projects, like traveler's notebook pages or within junk journals.
Yeah.
Because they punch easily. They're awesome, usually double-sided, especially for the junk journal situation where you can flip it and it's something else.
Yep.
But I like to use them on TNs because, you know, they fit and they layer well. And, you know, sometimes if it's a saying, you can cut it out. If it's a floral or a pattern, you can, you know, cut it in half and put some strips at the bottom. Or, you know, they have a ton of uses. They don't just have to be in pockets.
Yeah, that was one of my ideas, was just if you really like something on it, if it has a picture of a deer on it that you really like or something, but you don't know where to use it, cut it out and use it somewhere. You know, sometimes you feel restricted to like the edges of the card, but it's like tear off the bottom and layer it, or like you said, cut it out. And
yeah,
it's just a different way to use it.
Yeah, and I cut my 3x4 cards quite a bit to make them fit onto what project I'm working on. So if there's a lot of white space on the outside and you're feeling like that's just too much card, you know, there's too much card on this page, I'll just trim it or tear. Like you said, I love to tear at the bottom or the top of the card and add some texture. So that's a good way to use it. And you know, also in your Bibles.
Yes.
You added that little note to using it for other layout types. I mean, we have so many wonderful colors and prints.
And, you know, sometimes it's just a floor. Yeah, like you said, it's a pretty print. It's like you can use that. You can either like glue it in and make a thing, or you can use it as kind of a cover, washi tape hinge it in, and do your journaling underneath.
That's right. Kind of hidden journaling.
Yep.
Flip it up and see what you wrote. Totally. Yep. One of the other things that I thought of was using it for making a vision board, or using them to make a vision board. So picking out ones, like you were saying, where that are inspirational, or colors that really speak to you, or words or themes, and you can make a nice little collage, put it on a bulletin board, and kind of have that as some inspiration or some motivation to hang in, you know, your workspace even, or, you know, your bedroom, or wherever you get creative, or your workout room or something, you know?
Yeah.
Could be anywhere.
And I've done that before. I think I may have done it with a Bible verse, but I made this page on, you know, I cut down a piece of paper into an 8x10 size, and I you know, wrote the scripture out and put all these little embellishments on it, and just made this thing, you know. I mean, so you could do whatever you wanted with that. You know, like you said, cut up the pocket cards or use them as a visual element on there. It's not dissimilar or too dissimilar from scrapbooking. You know, you could either use like photos or not. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea. And you can also use them in your planners as decoration or again, motivation. You know, there are pocket pages that fit inside of, you know, an A5 or an A6 planner, and you can make yourself a little dashboard with some of your favorite Project Life cards, and then you can switch them out. And that's what I really like about the pocket system, using them as motivation or decoration in your planners, is that you can just switch them out when you've got a different theme, or when you change your colors in your planner. So that's another option.
Absolutely.
That's all I had, girlfriend.
Well, some of mine, I mean, we talked about a little bit already, fussy cutting them. Another one of my ideas was always one of my favorites, destashing and sending them to other people.
That's a good one.
Not that I don't love my supplies, but sometimes after a while, when I've realized I've passed over it so many times, just wanting it to be used. So whether I send just a couple in a regular size envelope that doesn't cost any more than anything else to mail, or whether I do a destash or a giveaway or whatever, just passing them on. And then another thing, which you and I have done before, is if you want to buy a core kit, to split it between 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 friends,
Yeah.
The big core kit that we bought, the Maggie Holmes Gather core kit, which is awesome, I think had 6 copies of some cards. And so depending on if you thought you were going to use the flip sides or what, you could totally split it between 2 to 6 people, and then you just don't have as much.
Yeah, and you're not overwhelmed with how much.
Yeah.
Because they can get repetitive if you've got too many of the same things.
Yep.
So splitting it's really nice because then you still have, and there's like 150 designs, it feels like. It feels like there's so many in the core kits. But I like that idea of splitting it. Yeah, my mom and I, when she scrapbooked, sidebar, my mom texted me a little while ago, maybe like 3 weeks ago, and she said, hey, do you still have, where can we get some of those smaller pocket pages? And I was like, well, I have a ton. What are you doing? Are you going to make an album or something? She said, well, I really haven't scrapbooked since my stroke, and I really need a hobby again, and I really want to get back into scrapbooking. And my heart just was like exploding. I was so happy because my mom was basically my scrap buddy. Her and I have been scrapping together since 1999. I got her into scrapbooking about a year after I started scrapbooking, and then when she had her stroke, it was just not something that she had an interest in, and she couldn't really. She was, limited for a good couple of years until she, built herself back up and the strength in her hands and mentally, getting back into the things that you loved before. And so she said, okay, well, start putting some scrapbook supplies aside for me. And I'm over here like, Mama's getting this. Mama's getting this. So when they come out here in August, we're going to take a little trip to Hobby Lobby, and hopefully we can have a little scrapbook day and maybe some Bible journaling, or just maybe some, getting some of her travel photos
sounds like so much fun
into her little album. So I'm super excited about that. But what reminded me of that was that her and I used to split the core kits.
Yes.
Because there was just so many. And even splitting them between 2 people is so much. And so I really like your idea of splitting it with like 3 or more people.
Yeah.
Because that would really condense how much you're bringing in.
Absolutely.
All that to say.
I agree. It helps to have someone to share stuff with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then my last idea was, like we talked about in our last episode, using digital ones so that you physically have less. And, it depends on what your space situation looks like, but sometimes it's more helpful to print things out and just have them on hand. But if you really don't have a lot of space and you are good at remembering what you have, or you've made that little swatch book like we talked about in our last episode, which go listen if you haven't, because it's got a lot of good ideas, then maybe leaving them on your computer until you need them would just give you more space.
Yeah. And it's something we didn't talk about in the last episode, but since we're talking about it right now, do you think that you would ever, or do you ever, print on the fly? That was one of the questions that came up. Do you find yourself scrapbooking and thinking, I need this card, I'm going to print now? Or does that take you out of your flow?
I definitely have done that.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of what I can think of, for instance, is something I talked about in the last episode where I've gone, I really need a good journaling card. And I'll hop on to Integrated Bubble or look at what I have and go, yeah, that'll work. And then print those out. Or sometimes, excuse me, like what I did when I was working on my Mexico album is that I went, what am I even saying? Oh, my Lita. Okay, let's try that again. One of the things I did was go, oh, I forgot to get this beach kit that I wanted from Integrated Bubble. And so I went on, bought it, printed it, cut it, and then I add those resources. So I wasn't thinking of something specific like, oh, I forgot to do whatever. But maybe sometimes, or I know this actually has happened to me when I've worked on my family album, my 12 by 12, is I went, where is that photo? I know I took this photo that week, but I can't find it anywhere. So I'll pull out a sticky note and just print the photo of Chad and Jonah sitting on the front porch. Just so I don't have to do it in that moment to finish that project because it is a pocket album. But then I can mentally later just go print it and put it in there. Okay.
Yeah, that was a little off topic, but I just needed to clarify that because we were talking about digital supplies again, and people, ask, is that something that you're doing? Is you're stopping and printing? But for me, it happens very rarely because I'm the kind of person that's going to print the things that I like at that moment, in preparation to use it. I always intend to use what I'm going to print because, I like it. And so I was kind of just wondering what your,
I don't print on the fly very often, but I also feel like I have a good amount of space to just keep things handy. And I do, I guess, to further clarify from the previous episode, where I talked about how I store my digital supplies that I printed. I do, however, keep all my pocket cards together in my pocket card organizer, which I think you talked about in your recent scrap area organization video. I think it's called like a tiered organizer or something.
Yeah, I think that, it's the Recollection brand, and I think it's just called tiered wooden box. It's super... And so generic sounding.
Yep, I just keep all my pocket cards in there, and I kind of have the little dividers switched around to how they work best for the amount of 3x4s and 4x6s I have, and then I do also keep 4x6 or 6x8 or 6x6 paper pads in the back as well. Yeah, because that's just a good place for me to keep them.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tiered. They're larger. It fits better well back in the there. Back,
but then anything I print out gets organized into, sometimes I'll have it in a specific category, like seasons, if it's a fall printable. Right. But then most of the time, I kind of have a printable section where I have more of my printable stuff. Sometimes I'll put the journaling cards just straight in my white section because usually I know my white journaling cards are in there.
True, because you're talking about the Integrated Bubble digital journaling cards that are white background with just black text that has places to fill in. Okay.
Because usually if I'm looking for some sort of journaling card, I'm only really looking in white because I guess I don't really know why.
Because that's the color of the card. That's just probably how you visually.
I mean, I'm sure there are other cards that are colored, have spaces for journaling, but
it's like a ton, like all of LA Studios cards.
Yeah, I mean pretty much. But they all more or less have a white background too. So I kind of like when I'm picking through my cards, I don't know if this is terribly relevant or not, but when I'm sitting down with a 12 by 12 or 12 by 24, which is a double 12 by 12 spread, when I'm trying to figure out what cards I'm going to use, I look for colors first. You and I kind of got that from you. Identify the key colors in my photos if it has a lot of blues or pinks or neutrals or whatever. And then I'll usually go to one of the major manufacturers sections first. So LA Studio, Felicity Jane, What else do I have? Hold on.
Well, you probably have some Maggie Holmes probably separated.
Yes, I do have the Maggie Holmes in a section, and then I have like a colorful section. So I probably would go to those sections first to try to find a card or two that maybe has all or more of those colors, so that can kind of be my card I can pull from. And then once I've gone through everything in there, then I'll start going through the specific colors. So that's kind of how I pick pocket cards to put them in my larger layouts. Now my smaller ones, usually I'm searching for something specific, like a color or a specific theme or something.
Yeah,
like
because
it's
for your personal album. Yeah,
and sometimes
I feel you.
What I'll do is I'll keep cards that I really just think I would only use in my personal album in a separate little thing in my, like I kind of have this little box of just personal album stuff. Like if it's a photo about taking a selfie, I probably will keep that in my personal album because not a ton of my selfies end up in my family album.
Right.
Or at least I'm not going to talk about selfie time. Particularly. Or if it's something about crafting, usually I'll keep that in my personal album section. Or if it's something about mom life, or I probably would use that actually in my family album, but there's a couple that I'll pull out and put in different sections. Right now I'm working on my Mexico album, so I kind of went through and pulled out things that talk anything about traveling, wandering, quality time, some stuff about weekends, and then I'll kind of like resort them after I'm done. But sometimes doing that keeps me from having to go through all of them quite as often.
I like that idea of kind of thinking of other projects. And I know that's kind of hard to do, but thinking of other projects while you're going through cards and kind of thinking about where you could use it. And I do that a lot when I'm purging my cards, which is, didn't make it on our list, but it's kind of an obvious. I mean, you did say de-stash, so yeah, basically same thing. But when I'm going through those and I'm making that quick decision of 1 second to make a choice to say yes or no to the card, I sometimes, if it's a yes, because of a specific reason, I'll set it aside and make a little note, like a little sticky note. And I'll actually sometimes even put it with the photo itself that I want to make sure I remember to use with it. And I like marry those two together. They live together in my little sorter until I'm ready to work on that page.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I will totally forget.
Or if it's something you haven't printed, putting a sticky note on the back and going, this would be perfect for this photo if you can recall a certain photo.
Yep, I do that with the photos actually too. Sometimes I'll write on the back of the photo and say, use this journaling. Use your Thursday 3 journaling with this picture.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I think too, when thinking about making categories for your pocket cards, you can always... I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Like, you can always make a category and then get rid of it.
Yes.
You can always make a category that's like summertime, and then when summer's over, you can resort them. I don't know. I probably would make something called seasons, and
I have a seasons
that's really seasonally specific. But you could even try something. See if make a section that's all florals. And then if you don't like it, resort it. It's not the end of the world. Just don't not do something because you're afraid it's not going to work for you.
Correct.
Just try
because
it.
the way that we've gotten ourselves to a place where things work really well is that we've tried it like 10 different ways.
Yep.
And I know that I have to sort and organize my stuff in different ways depending on how much product I have. And right now, I don't have a ton of Project Life cards just because I'm not bringing them in as much because I'm not doing as much pocket work right now. But I have a ton of Traveler's Notebook pages and a ton of extra like printables and sticker paper things because I'm kind of in that mode. So I've had to readjust how I store those things based on how much product I have. And right at this moment, I can store my 3x4 cards in 2 little sections. And that's enough. But there was a time when I needed the whole entire bucket for my Project Life cards, you know?
Yeah.
And so feel free to manipulate and move things around if things don't work.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because I think if anybody has followed me for a little while, they've known that I've always sorted my stuff by color and then a few things by category. Well, I decided about a month or two ago that I was going to ixnay all of the color and I was going to go all by like really detailed category. That lasted about 5 seconds because I couldn't find a dang thing. I couldn't find anything because my brain says go to color first.
Yep.
And I was looking for a green card and I couldn't find a green card. I didn't want a card that said something that had room for journaling, even though that's what I was trying to do with my categories. You know, I learned that didn't work for me.
Yep. And so you just got to try different things until you figure out what works for you.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think we turned the what to do with Project Life cards into just kind of a little bit of a pocket talk, but I think that's the kind of a natural little progression we made there. Yeah. So
because
awesome.
You know, some people call them pocket cards, some people call them Project Life cards. They're the same thing, you know. Yep. 3x4 or 4x6 cards that were probably supposed to go in a pocket, but you can use them wherever the heck you want.
Heck yeah, that's what I love so much about this kind of craft that we do. It's like everything's game for anything that you do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just recently I started a project that I can't share yet. Well, maybe actually I think it goes live on I think it'll be live by the time this episode airs. But I've made a Traveler's Notebook sized open ring bound Traveler's Notebook size thing, but it alternates between large photo and half of a 6x8 pocket page. So I've trimmed the other side off and I've used some pockets on the one side. Then you flip that over, you've got 2 pockets on that side, and then you've got a large photo. Yeah, girl, I'm so excited about it. I can't wait to share it. Actually, like I said, it'll be already out in the world by the time this episode airs. But
oh my gosh, is it for Ellie Studio?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes. And actually, since it'll be out, I can talk about it a little bit. But I did a bonus blog post because they just had an extra space, and the theme was using the printables, using only the printables. You know, mainly the printables. Make the printables the focus. And I was like, I looked at those and I said, oh my gosh, I can use every single one of these. I have a perfect idea. I'm going to make this mini book, and it's kind of fun. So that maybe could be another way is you could alternate and use your pocket pages inside of different formats. Like I basically just mixed a Traveler's Notebook and a pocket page. And made kind of a little mini album. And that's why I asked you to measure the pocket page for me. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Because I needed to size.
It's a good thing I have a terrible memory.
Because I needed to measure. I needed to crop my photo, and I needed to make the photo the same width as the whole seam, where the holes were going to go on the pockets, plus all the way to the edge of trimming off that extra side of the pocket page.
I got you.
Yeah. So that was that.
Magic. I can't wait for that.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up for this episode. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we've said all the things about pocket cards for this week, and hopefully we answered any questions anybody has. But, you know, as always, there's our Facebook group or Instagram. I'm a little bit more active on Instagram. Andrea's a little bit more active in our group, but just holler at either one of us, and we'd love to chat with you a little bit more about this or about anything.
Yeah, and definitely let us know if there's some topics you want us to chat about, too. If you're not in our Facebook group, maybe you're someone who listens via the YouTube channel, leave comments there and let us know if there's something special. You know, we probably are due for another Q&A episode sometime soon, so maybe we'll start gathering up some questions. But always feel free to ask, and we'll always kind of keep notes of things that get asked frequently, and then we're like, okay, people are really needing to know about this. Let's hammer this one out. So
yeah,
cool.
That sounds good.
yeah, thank you guys, as always, for watching and liking and subscribing and just following along with our journey and letting us know that you're enjoying the podcast, and we really appreciate the feedback. So,
yes, we really appreciate it.
We do. So I guess this is us just making the world craftier, one
pocket card at a time.
There you go. We'll get this down. We'll get it. We'll get it soon.
Get our flow. Bye,
right.
guys.
All right. See you soon. Bye.